Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together. We start as usual with a question that's come in advance from our online global audience, and then open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. Avoiding jealous thoughts is difficult, but does identifying it at least mean that there's some sort of progress? Absolutely. Whatever the emotion or thought pattern may be, the minute that we can see it, it's hugely beneficial. Because up to that moment, we feel like we are the thought. A thought, an experience, an emotion of anger arises. And we feel like we are it. I am angry. I am sad. I am jealous. I am all of these things. No, you are not. Just there is a thought, a pattern of electrical and chemical behavior in the brain that we call anger or sadness or grief arises. You are not it. You are not your thoughts. And so the better that we can identify them, the more it frees us of it. Because if I feel I am angry, well, that's me. That's a self-identification. But if I can look at it and I can identify the emotion as it's okay, it's fine, everything's fine. Thank you, sweetie. Everything's good. No problem. It's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. The more that I can look at the emotion, recognize it, see it, well, then I realize I am not it. And that's critical. Because as long as I think I am it, it's going to kill me. Then there is absolutely no freedom whatsoever. Then I am angry. There's no freedom. If all of me is anger, then I've got no choice but to just drown in anger. But if I can identify it, there is this wave of this thing we call anger arising. Well, then suddenly I'm not the anger. I'm the one aware of the anger. I'm the one noticing the anger. I'm the one naming the anger. I'm the one seeing the anger. It means I'm not the anger. And that's essential for both spiritual well-being, of course, but also just for emotional well-being. The more we think we are our emotions, the more miserable we are, and the more stuck we are. Because then we're constantly going up and down. Oh, today was a great day. I was so happy because, somebody brought me flowers or someone was really nice to me. Great day. I am happy today. It's very shallow. And it's constantly up and down because then tomorrow, oh, horrible day, nobody was nice to me. Nobody talked to me, nobody loved me, nobody hugged me, nobody brought me flowers. And you see how we've made a very simple, short-lived chemical and electrical experience in our brain that takes the form of a thought or an emotion or a feeling. See how we've made that the full state in which we are stuck in it. But the moment we identify that thing, this wave, we realize we aren't it. It's like you sit in the sun. Suddenly you're really hot. There's a wave, a chemical and electrical change in the body that sends signals to the brain that says, I'm hot. But we understand I am not the heat. It's just temporary. We don't identify with it. But that which comes from within our brains, we identify as them. And we need to start looking at a lot of this stuff the same way that we look at that which arises from the temperature around us or from the environments that we're in. Just temporary shifts, waves. Waves of an emotional state. Waves of a thought. They come, they peak, and then they dissipate. And that's what heals us. To not be that emotion. So yes, it's an answer to the questioner. It's great progress. If you find that you're still having thoughts of jealousy, okay, it happens. But the more you can identify them, the freer you become. Because if you can say, oh, hello, jealousy. I didn't know you were stopping by today. Unexpected visit, not one I've got a lot of time for. But anyway, I see you. Then it keeps you from getting stuck. Then suddenly it's not, oh my God, why does this person have that and I don't have it? Why is this person getting this and I'm not getting it? Why is this person? And then we're all wrapped up in the drama of it. But if we can just acknowledge it, hey, jealousy, I see you, but you know what? I'm going to choose love today instead. I'm going to choose peace today instead. Because just because something arises doesn't mean we have to choose it. Right? When I was a kid, every day the ice cream truck would go by. And every time the ice cream truck went by with its very special ice cream truck music, all of the kids would rush to the ice cream truck as though it was like this magnet and there was no option. You had to go to it. Now, when you're a little kid and it's summer and it's the ice cream truck, you may think that just because it drove by, yes, you've got to have ice cream. But as we get older, as we get somewhat more mature, it's important to realize that just because something drives by or shows up doesn't mean that we have to be pulled to it. I mean, one would hope that, diabetic or obese adults could restrain themselves from running after the ice cream truck just because it came into the neighborhood. All right, let the kids run, no problem. But if you've got diabetes, or you're severely obese, or your teeth are rotten and falling out, we would hope that you would have the the awareness and the discipline to say, oh yeah, there's the ice cream truck. I'm not going to run after it. Like, this is not what's good for me. And in the same way, when these thoughts of jealousy in this case arise, just because it arises doesn't mean we have to jump on it like an ice cream truck. You can see it. Oh yeah, there's that thought of jealousy. I know that. It's kind of a pattern in my life, all right. Like the ice cream truck that comes by once a day. But no matter how frequently it comes by, I don't have to jump on it. And these thoughts, unlike an ice cream truck, the less you jump on them, the less frequently they'll come by. It would be like if no kids ever ran after the truck. Eventually it would realize this neighborhood is not very good for business. I'm sorry?
So they won't come.
Yeah, they won't come, exactly. Exactly, they won't come. No kids are buying ice cream. Why go here? I'll choose a different neighborhood. In the same way, when these thoughts arise, the more you don't jump on them, the more you don't give in to them, the more they realize, why bother? And they stop coming. So yes, the first step is identifying it, acknowledging it, realizing it isn't you, and then realizing that you've got a choice. Choose jealousy or choose love. It's up to you. And even if you've chosen jealousy every single day up until this moment, today's a brand new moment. A brand new day. Choose something different. It's the opportunity we all have. Does anyone here have any questions? Yes. Yeah, first the gentleman and then you. And Abigail, you're welcome to take them if you want. Totally fine. No problem. No problem at all.
Thank you. The question is, how can be possible to have a total fulfilling and long-lasting loving relation?
Beautiful. How can we have a truly fulfilling, long-lasting, and there was one more adjective? And? Loving relationship. I was going to stick loving and relationship together as the noun. Like that's the thing. So how does our loving relationship become fulfilling and long-lived? When we don't need the other person in order to feel okay about ourselves. When we can let go of the agenda that we have, when we can let go of the agenda that we have for the other person, because that's what squishes and suffocates love. When I've got an agenda, you're going to talk to me in a certain way. You're going to treat me in a certain way. You're going to live your life in a certain way. I suffocate the love. This is why it's so much easier to love in the beginning of relationships. Why people fall in love. And then as time goes on, they find it so difficult. Because in the beginning, we don't have such an agenda. Right? When you first meet someone and you first start falling in love, you're not so worried with how the person's dressing or what they're ordering to eat in the restaurant. Maybe you even think it's kind of quirky or interesting or cute or unusual or whatever it may be. Macho. But as time goes on, suddenly you develop sort of an agenda. And you develop this sense that you are entitled to tell that person how to live, or to determine how that person is going to live. We start sort of seeping into each other's free will. You know, when you share a bed together, what frequently happens if one person is a sort of rowdy type of sleeper is you end up with one person sort of occupying the other person's part of the bed, right? If you did a photo essay of married couples, you know, in the middle of the night or early morning before they actually wake up, would actually be a fun photo essay. Maybe Abigail should take that up. But if you did a photo essay of this and you just got yourself into people's homes without them knowing, I believe that in a vast majority of cases, one spouse would have occupied much more than 50% of the bed. One spouse is going to be on much less. One spouse is going to be on much more. Some people just tend to sleep in different ways. But it's one of the things that you always hear people talking about somebody hogging the bed. And I mention it because when you're just looking at a bed, assuming that the person who gets less than 50% of the space doesn't really mind and isn't such a mover in the bed, it's fine. Then it's just a little quirk. It's a little idiosyncrasy. It's a little aspect of the relationship. Yeah, she hogs the bed. Okay. Well, as long as you can sleep on 10% of the bed, no problem. But when we start seeping over into people's lives, then it becomes a different story. When you start taking over 90% of someone's life, leaving them only with 10% of free will, then it's a much more serious situation than just taking over the bed in the night. And this is the type of stuff that makes us lose that beauty of love. And so one of the ways is make sure that you keep doing your work. It becomes really easy in relationships to expect the other person to be the one to fix you. You've had a stressful day, you're upset, you're angry, you're annoyed, and you come home and you expect that the other person should be the one now who's going to make it all better, without necessarily taking into consideration what's going on for the other person at that moment. And when it doesn't happen, then we get angry, hurt, disappointed. We feel rejected, we're resentful. And then things start to really sour. So it's really critical that both people keep doing their work, their psychological work, their spiritual work, that everyone in a relationship knows how to self-soothe, that everyone in a relationship knows how to have their meditation corner or their quiet space, their breathing corner, so that we're able, when we are stressed or upset, to soothe ourselves and then to re-emerge into the relationship from a place of grounding and anchoring in love. And it doesn't mean that you can never cry on the loved one's shoulder or have the loved one hold you up. Of course you can. But when we start having this expectation that all of my frustration, all of my stress is going to be taken care of by that loved one, then we end up in trouble. Another key point is forgiveness. Just let things go. When we hold on to things, they fester. And they become like infections. Let things go. Ask yourself, anytime you're upset about something, ask yourself, is this really worth the love in my relationship? Okay, I didn't like what he or she said or did. But is it worth it? Does it need to be brought up? Does it need to be mentioned? You know, my dad is a divorce attorney and has spent the better part of 50 years now divorcing people. And he's got a very... Will you just turn that fan off? Yeah, just turn it off. Thank you. The night is beautiful and breezy, and thanks. So my dad, the divorce attorney, has got this beautiful teaching that he has seen after 50 years of watching couples get divorced. As he says, in a marriage, you've only got two choices. You can either be right or you can be married. You can't be both. And I guess you could say you could be right or happily married. Because in some cases, people stay married even when they're miserable. But you've got to ask yourself, is it worth being right? Or is it more important to be in peace? And that's a question we always have to ask ourselves. Because so much of that love gets lost in trying to be right. So let go of things. Okay, someone did something you didn't like. Okay, it happens. Let it go. Choose love. Choose peace. Let things flow like they flow in the Ganga. Just imagine your mind to be like the Ganga. We were talking about Ganga in the Aarti tonight. She's amazing. People dump trash in her. I mean, she's the mother goddess. People dump trash in her. What does she do? She just keeps flowing. She keeps flowing. She doesn't stop. How dare you? Who do you think you are? She doesn't suddenly pull all of her water into this huge tidal wave and sweep the person who just dumped trash in her. Sometimes we think she should, but she doesn't. When you think you're the goddess, you can do anything. When she first came onto earth, Pujya Swamiji mentioned how when she came onto earth, it was to bring freedom, liberation to the sons of King Sagar by flowing over them. But when she first came onto earth, she was this rambunctious, intractable force of Shakti. But she was washing over the riverbanks, like washing everybody away. And so they went and they prayed to Lord Shiva to first let her flow into his hair, into his locks, and then to gently, gently, gently let her down. Which he did and she did. But in my mind, I don't think he actually contained her. I think she allowed herself to be contained in this way, and that if she wanted to, she could be just as free-spirited, and we see it sometimes in the monsoon season. Sometimes she reminds us of her true force. But I mention it because when she flows, she could very easily sweep up anyone who dumps trash in her. It would be so easy for her. Somebody's standing on her riverbanks, they dump their trash, they're in a boat, they throw something out. How easy, just make a wave, boom, done. But she doesn't. Never once. She just keeps flowing. She keeps flowing. There we are performing her arati, praying to her. She could rise up and bless us in some very special sort of way. She doesn't. She doesn't need to go through that. We know we're blessed. She just keeps flowing. Whatever you do to her, she keeps flowing. And it's a beautiful teaching. That whatever happens to us, can we just keep flowing? Sometimes some people are going to basically dump trash in you. With their words, with their actions. Sometimes people are going to essentially pray to you, bow to you, with their words or their actions. But in both cases, can you just keep flowing? Just keep flowing rather than rising up to kill the one who dumped the trash in you. Can you just keep flowing? So if you can, it's a beautiful secret to maintaining that relationship, because then whatever the other person does, you can just keep loving them. Just keep loving them, knowing they didn't wake up in the morning and say, how can I make your day miserable? They're not trying to hurt you. They're just in their own karmic drama of confusion and fear and anger and habits, desires. And the more you can just let however they are flow and just keep loving them, the more long-lasting that relationship is going to be and the more full of love it's going to be. But the more right you try to become, the more nights you spend on the couch, as my dad would say. Beautiful. Yes. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. She said she forgot her question. You know, when I first met Pujya Swamiji, that happened to me. He would give darshan like he gives now in the evening. In those days, he used to give it in the morning and in the afternoon, 1 hour. And everybody would come and ask questions. And I would just sit, just ecstatic in his presence. And he would turn to me every once in a while and say, yes. And I was an academic. I was a straight A academic. And I thought I really should have some intelligent question. At the beginning, I had asked him a question about fear, which is a different story. But after that, couldn't think of questions. And then what I would do is when I would leave darshan, I would start to think of questions. And at night in my room, I would think of questions. And I would think, okay, tomorrow or the next day, whenever he turns to me, when he has time and he says, yes, I'm going to have this very intelligent question to ask. And I would get there. And eventually at some point that day, the next day, he would say, yes. And I never could remember my questions. And I felt like I was just mortified. Like, here I am, I can't even remember these brilliant questions I had had. And I then took to writing them down. I thought, all right, I'm going to just write down these questions. And I show up one day. I've got my little bag, I had a purse, little purse. And in my purse, I had my list of questions. And he says, yes. And I'm feeling very happy. Like now I know I've got my questions. And I open my purse to get my piece of paper. And it's not there. Now, yeah, literally. Miracles. And it was just one of those little cloth purses that you buy. Not one of those big bags with secret compartments and whatnot. Just a little cloth purse, no pockets. And all I used to keep in there usually was like my room key, maybe chapstick or something. Nothing else, maybe a little bit of 10 rupees, 20 rupees, whatever it might be. Nothing else. It was gone. So I said to him, I was so embarrassed, I said, just, can you give me 2 minutes? I think I left it in my room. So he said, sure. So I retrace my steps. I look on the ground. Did it fall out of my purse somehow? It's not there. I go back to my room. I start tearing my room apart. Literally, like pulling the sheets off my bed, pulling the pillowcases off my pillows, pulling it. Cannot find the list. And I finally realized, there's a teaching here. This is not about my list. For me as an academic who always had questions, I was the front row, 8 o'clock in the morning lecture hall class. Everybody else is asleep. And I'm like, I have a question. Suddenly the universe was teaching me to just be there. To just get out of my mind and be there. And so it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. So I know this beautiful experience of forgetting it. Yes. He's going to just bring you a microphone though. Aapko mic dena.
Thank you.
Of course.
So I have, gotten an opportunity to go to Boston for a convention center and speak there. Everything had been arranged, and it was like a wish fulfillment. And my visa dates didn't come through, and I've been praying for it. So sometimes anger comes towards God that when the opportunity did arise, why this little thing, and my colleagues get it and I don't get it. So why this is happening?
You think about what you prayed for, what you were really wanting. This trip to Boston, this trip to this convention, this opportunity to speak at this convention. Now you think about it from God's perspective. God as the giver of miracles, the bestower of grace. Thank you. Just turn it off, yeah. Thank you. You think about it from God's perspective. This infinite bestower of miracles and grace, who is there for you, to be there one with you. और आप अमेरिका जाने सपने ले रहे, वो भी बस एक कन्वेंशन के लिए. भगवान क्या सोच रहे होंगे? मैं तो सामने खड़े हूँ आशीर्वाद देने के लिए, और ये तो अपनी वीजा के चक्कर में है. Right? I mean, think about how this divine universe must look upon us, because she's not alone in this. Look at what are our goals, our desires. Oh, I should go to Boston. Oh, I should get invited to a convention. I should be given an opportunity to speak, to teach. This is my goal. You think the divine universe must be not knowing whether to laugh or to cry. Thinking, here I am, ready to merge with you in divine ecstasy and bliss. And you're dreaming of a convention in Boston? Right? I mean, is God laughing? Is God crying? Is God just being infinitely patient, knowing that eventually, if not this lifetime, next lifetime, eventually she will come around. But it's such a beautiful lesson because we get disappointed, we get attached, and we get disappointed to these things that are, I don't mean to belittle them, but in the perspective of really what we're here for, they're just distractions. They're not even small. They're actually distractions. Because all they do is re-emphasize, you are this role. If I had gone and I had spoken, well, that's just another chink in the armor of my costume of speaker at convention. Right? Now my costume is even more getting glued to my body. Every time you get invited, more and more, then it becomes more and more the story. Oh yeah. And then what happens? Imagine you had gone. Let's take it the other way. You went, you gave a beautiful speech. Now there's a convention in New York. Same organization or similar organization. But you didn't get invited. Now your mind is all messed up. What happened? Why didn't I get invited? Don't they know who I am? Don't they know I am that convention speaker? Entitlement, attachment. So we think in our mind, oh, if I had only gone to Boston, kitna acha rehta, without realizing actually how dangerous these paths become when our desires do get fulfilled. Now, it doesn't mean don't work. Absolutely work. Strive. If it had happened, my best advice to you would be, recognize you are simply in this moment, being used as a particular tool at a particular moment. It is not about you. It is not your role. You are not a speaker, a teacher. You just happen to be the one plucked out of a billion other possible ones to be used as this particular instrument. Why does one screwdriver get chosen out of an entire hardware store to be purchased? Right? Out of all the hammers in the world, which one gets chosen to hammer in the nail that the Mona Lisa is going to hang from? Right? Out of all the possible hammers. Okay, so you got chosen. So my advice, if you had gone, would have been that. But now that you didn't go, think of it as the universe actually saving you from getting stuck in a role. Maybe you weren't quite ready yet to be able to, I'm sure you were ready as a brilliant speaker, but maybe you weren't quite ready yet to be the speaker from whom that role was just going to flow off like water over oil. And that's really what it's all about, is not to let any of these roles make us stuck. So, yeah, think of this as a beautiful gift from God to say, hey, dream big. Dream big. You're on the banks of Ganga. Sit down and get enlightened, for God's sakes. You're here on Ganga Saptami. You're here at this sacred time. Have a bath in Ganga. Free yourself of lifetimes of karma. उसके सामने Boston क्या है? It's a beautiful message. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful message to all of us. So thank you for the opportunity for all of us to remember, like, what are we dreaming about? What are we attached to? What are the things that we get disappointed when they don't happen? What are the things that we're losing our peace over? Right? I put up a shingle on my new, shop front or my new studio front. Right? I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a healer. I'm a speaker. I'm a Vastu person. I'm a Jyotish person. I'm a past life regression person. I'm a whatever I may be. Put up my shingle. Nobody came. I opened my Facebook page. Nobody's following me. Right? And you look at how we get stuck with these roles. So you've given everyone this beautiful opportunity to ask ourselves, what am I getting disappointed based on? What am I attached to? What are the things that make me feel like, wow, I'm really something? And if I'm feeling like, wow, I'm really something, that may be a beautiful sign from the universe that this isn't exactly yet your time, maybe. Because that's not the point. So here you are on the banks of Ganga. Go, sit. Experience the divine presence. It's a much greater gift than all the conventions in the world, than all the cities in the world. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful day to our family joining us from all over the world. Oh, and you had something you were saying? Oh, Ganga Saptami. It's the seventh day of the cycle. So when we talk about Saptami or Ashtami or Dashera, it actually refers to the seventh day or the eighth day, the 10th day that it falls upon. So I actually had thought it was Ganga Ashtami, that it was falling on the 8th day, which was why in the Arati Pujya Swamiji corrected me that it's actually Ganga Saptami. It's falling on the 7th day of the cycle. Yes.
Spiritual retreat.
Yes. Thank you. Spiritual retreat. So starting from tomorrow, on the beautiful day of Ganga Saptami, we have a very, very beautiful spiritual retreat here at Parmarth Niketan. It's from the 8th to the 13th. It includes meditation, yoga, Vedic chanting, satsang, pujas, nature walks. Anything else? Am I missing? I'm sorry? Vedic teachings, Reiki healing. Wow, look at that. So much. Best of everything, exactly. So we invite you all. It, like all of our programs, are offered just on a donation basis. So feel free to talk to Sevanandaji after the satsang if you are interested in joining the retreat. You don't have to be able to stay for all 5 days of it. Even if you can just join us for a couple of days, you are more than welcome. And so much love to all of you.